The problem with that is, but before we could do the class struggle, we have to think about the ways in which the trans disabled folks are being negligent toward the HR procedures of properly doing the right thing, because you have to understand the dynamics and the systems of oppression. There's many dynamic systems of oppression that all intersect with one another. The various intersecting dynamics of oppression that are a consequence of the structural consequences of the structural reality of the forced patriarchal cis heteronormative realities and structures that in everyday life, when people are walking around, they don't see it, but it's actually there. When you're actually woke, you can see it. What's actually going on is that the black transgender people of color who are also Mexican, they're also disabled, and you need to understand that they're being oppressed because they're not being adequately represented in the latest Netflix special about Martin Luther King Jr., who is actually a transgender Eskimo. And what you have to understand is that in the biography of King Arthur, we need to make King Arthur a fat person. We have to make a fat woman King Arthur, a fat black woman, actually. Subterranean, what's up? The latest Netflix special, we need more representation so people that can unlearn and deconstruct the constructs in their head about the various cis... He's another smart millennial. Remember when I was talking to that libtard on TikTok? The truth is very simple. You describe oppression in this meticulous way. Right. We're all represent. This is an insult to people who really do suffer oppression. Because for those who suffer oppression, there is one thing and one thing only that weighs over them. Only one thing. A Palestinian, there's one thing weighing over them, and they wage war on this thing. That thing is the occupation entity. There's no meticulous representation. That's gibberish for people who suffer oppression. For people who suffer oppression, the thing that's oppressing them is clear and present and in front of them, and they can name it, and they can refer to it, and they can have a plan and an understanding of what needs to be done to overthrow it. They don't have to play 21 questions naming off all of these meticulous nonsense things like therapy and training in order to understand what's at stake in the liberation of both themselves and the people they live with. What you're describing is not oppression. It's a managerial problem for HR departments to make bourgeois professionals feel more comfortable being in the adult daycares that they're in. That's what you're talking about. Or, God forbid, members of the bourgeoisie in their various disgusting, filthy bourgeois country clubs having a mutual understanding so there's no misunderstandings. So the white guy doesn't misunderstand the fact that the black guy next to him is his fellow class brethren and doesn't mistake him for a filthy proletarian. So that's just facts. It's just 100% facts. And the reason you're seeing this reaction by PMC, urbanoid, libtard, fucking glasses-wearing pieces of shit is because it cuts deep. When they fucking hear this shit, it's like a bomb has been dropped on them that they feel viscerally. They feel that viscerally. Like, I'm fucking useless, and I have no understanding of oppression, and I am a fucking glasses-wearing parasite in the country that I live in, that will never have any relationship to an authentic revolutionary struggle. So how does Liv Agar respond to how they were made to feel by this video, which was a bomb dropped on them? Well, we do need to educate people. You're saying the proletariat doesn't need educating. What are you fucking talking about? What are you even fucking talking about? First of all, there's so many prongs of this retardation here. Prong one, how can you equivocate the education of the proletariat with intersectional HR management and all this nonsense about taking therapy classes and shit? What do you mean? What does that have to do with educating the proletariat? Nothing. Second of all, if you mean to say that I'm claiming the proletariat doesn't need to be educated about the fact that it's being oppressed, consider me fucking guilty as charged. The fucking oppressed people don't need to be told that they're oppressed. They know they're being oppressed, and I'll even fucking drop another nuke. They know who is oppressing them. You think workers don't fucking know that their companies and the government oppresses them? Of course they fucking know that. You're a retard if they need to be told. If you need to be told you're oppressed, you're not fucking oppressed. End of fucking story. So you begs the question, then why does the proletariat not spontaneously effect or enact a revolution? I'll tell you why. It's really, really simple. They're not missing They're not missing education about the fact that they're oppressed. They're missing hope. They understand all of these things. They just think there's nothing that can be fucking done about it. That's the reason that oppressed people are passive or sometimes even participate in their own oppression. Because they're fucking blackpilled. They don't think there's anything that can be done about it. The fuck's going to be done about it? Especially they don't think something will be done about it if they're being told about intersectional gibber babble. What can be fucking done? You think people don't know how? You think people are so stupid because you're a Zionist. You're a Jewish supremacist who sees the majority of the masses as retarded goyim. I'm going to fucking go there. These are a bunch of Jewish supremacists, leftist, Marxist gatekeepers, quote-unquote Marxists. They're not Marxists. They're Jewish supremacists who see the proletariat and the masses as retarded goyim. The proletariat is much smarter than you think. They see everything. What they don't, the missing puzzle piece they don't have is what the fuck can be done about it. Most of them think nothing can be done about it. That's just how the world is. Most of them think that's just the way things fucking go. That doesn't mean they don't know that they're being oppressed. It means they don't have any fucking hope. And that's the truth. Most people know that it's the U.S. regime that oppresses them. Most people know that the fucking companies they're working for are fucking them over and oppressing them. Of course they fucking know that. You think they need a Marxist to educate them about the shit they fucking see and feel and know every fucking day? They don't. What they need is leadership. They need leadership. They need to be led by people who know what the fuck they're doing and have an understanding of what the fucking way forward is. Dad, boy, what's up? Appreciate you. When you have leadership, when you have people who know and understand, you have a strategic vision about what can be fucking done, it's not hard for people that are oppressed to follow it. It's not hard for them to follow suit. Like, did the Bolsheviks educate the masses before the revolution? No! If they did, it was a small minority of the masses. The truth is, the people educated in Marxism were in the Bolshevik Party. 99.99% of the masses before the October Revolution, they had no fucking clue what Marxism was. That was something the cadre understood in the party. That's why there's a class cadre distinction. The Bolsheviks provided the answers and the leadership about what to fucking do. What to fucking do. Nobody needed to be taught that the Tsar was oppressing them. Nobody needed to be taught that the Kerensky provisional government was oppressing them. Nobody needed to be fucking taught that. They knew it. It was the Bolsheviks that had a fucking strategy. They had a strategy for how to go forward. And that's why people rallied behind the Bolsheviks, who said peace, land, and bread. Of course, the proletariat needs to be educated by the logic of struggle. But people who are oppressed know that they're being oppressed and can name who's oppressing them. If they're put in a discursive context in which it is possible that they can have the opportunity to even think about what they're oppressed, of course they fucking know what it is. How is this? How 5.5 thousand real people like this? That's fine. I think there's at minimum 15 million petty bourgeois intelligentsia in the world. 15 million who are not going to make it. But at minimum, there's probably 15 million bourgeois intelligentsia in the world who not only are mentally retarded and can be written off entirely, but objectively speaking, if there's a world revolution and the collapse of the American empire, at minimum, that amount of people will have no place in the future. Is that crazy for me to say? Or maybe it's too much, 15? It's at least 1 million. So 5.5 thousand people being mentally retarded doesn't bother me because it's not even close to the amount of people who I will write off globally as irredeemable. Not me, only God can do that. But I will accept God's judgment. If God decides that, this amount of people just have no place in the future of the revolution, They're counter-revolutionaries. They're reactionaries. They're petty bourgeois gatekeepers, pretending to be Marxists, but in reality, trying to make themselves feel more useful than they are. Have we been bereft of academic institutions educating people in my Marxism? Go to any college right now. No, just go to any. Keep the stream open. Get on your bicycle and go visit a fucking college. Are they not talking about Marx enough in the colleges? For how many years have they been talking about Marx in colleges? Tell me. Where's the results? Where's the results? All these educated people that are so smart with glasses, that know everything about Marxism, that know about Marx. What? We have a nothing sandwich. They're cooking in the kitchen and they came out with a nothing sandwich. And you're saying the proletariat doesn't need educating. I am absolutely saying that people who are oppressed absolutely are not confused whatsoever about the fact that they are oppressed. And it is not hard. Notice the fucking bad faith. Because even if people who are oppressed genuinely have no fucking clue how they're being oppressed or who's doing it, let's say I'll grant that's possible. Once you tell them, it's not hard for them to understand. And when I was debating this intersectional whatever, it was very, very hard for them to explain to me what oppression is and what are examples of oppression. But people who are actually oppressed, somehow, if you can at least help them a tiny bit, just give them a hint, they get it. It's like this, they get it. Go tell a Palestinian. Maybe a Palestinian might be confused about who's oppressing them. Okay, tell them it's Israel. Just like that. So much of everything would be making sense in their life. It's Israel. Okay, I go and I talk to people in America, the fucking government. Of course we know the government oppresses us. Okay, these shitty, disgusting fucking companies and banks and all these things people fucking deal with on a daily basis. Yes? Go ask a black person in the hood if the police don't oppress them. Or who's oppressing you? You think they don't know? You need to go educate them that the police oppress them? Black people in the hood are waiting for Liv Agar to come to them and explain to them that the police oppress them. They don't know that yet. They're confused about it. They have no idea. They have to wait for Liv to come and explain to them their oppression. Look, Marxists play a role in having a strategic vision, in understanding the mechanisms, right? The details of how it works. But that doesn't mean Marxists are the ones creating the very cause of the liberation from oppression. No, they're not. Marxists are not the ones that are creating the context. They're not the ones who are giving people a fucking reason to want to fight oppression. People already want this. People already know that they're oppressed. They just don't have hope. They don't have faith. They don't have hope. This is an insult. People who are really oppressed, educated. You always have to read between the fine lines because there's nothing about what I said that doesn't fucking make sense to 99% of people in good faith. Read between the lines what they mean by education. They mean you need to go and put them through courses that explain to them how when they fart, every fart they have is a microaggression on transgender Eskimos. Every fart that they've ever done is disabled people have been blown up because of their feelings were hurt when they, you know, I don't know, when they aggressively opened the door as a show of strength. It made people who are disabled feel bad about their lack of ability to open doors. We need to educate. If you have to listen to the debate. You have to listen to the debate I was in. 5.5 thousand people. You're coping. You're coping. You're coping. What do we call this in a debate? What do you call it, by the way, when people cope in this way, where I say, your retarded idea that people need to be initiated into intersectional fucking meticulous nonsense, when for people who are actually oppressed, it's actually much simpler than that. And then they go, oh, you're saying they don't need any education at all. Okay, you're trying to make me sound unreasonable because you're coping with the fact that I'm confronting you with how retarded your position is. Simple as that. That's what I'm doing. I'm just educating the proletariat. No, that's what I'm doing. When I'm telling people they can't fucking clap and they have to do the jazz hands, That's me educating the proletariat. I'm here to educate you about your oppression. I'm here to educate you about your oppression. Okay? I mean, no, because you don't understand. No, because you don't understand. You really don't understand. That's the truth. You don't understand your oppression. You need to understand that. Fuck, I was gonna do a bit from last night that I thought of. I'm trying to fucking remember it. The problem with that is, but before we could do the class struggle, we have to think about the ways in which the trans disabled folks are being negligent toward the HR procedures of properly doing the right thing, because you have to understand the dynamics and the systems of oppression. There's many dynamic systems of oppression that all intersect with one another. The various intersecting dynamics of oppression that are a consequence of the structural consequences, of the structural reality, of the forced patriarchal, cis, heteronormative realities and structures that in everyday life, when people are walking around, they don't see it, but it's actually there. When if you're actually woke, you can see it. What's actually going on is that the black transgender people of color who are also Mexican, they're also disabled, and you need to understand that they're being oppressed because they're not being adequately represented in the latest Netflix special about Martin Luther King Jr., who is actually a transgender Eskimo. And what you have to understand is that in the biography of King Arthur, we need to make King Arthur a fat person. We have to make a fat woman King Arthur, a fat black woman, actually. Subterranean, what's up? The latest Netflix special, we need more representation so people that can unlearn and deconstruct the constructs in their head about the various cis... honestly, that wasn't even what I was talking about, though. Last night was something else.